In today's world, our society's drug problem has become increasingly dangerous. Drugs are now more accessible and being used by people from all walks of life. In 2010, there was an estimated 22.6 million Americans over the age of 12 that were current or former users of illicit drugs. Drugs exceeded motor vehicle accidents as a cause of death in 2009, killing at least 37,485 people nationwide. Drugs have become a huge problem in our society, and something needs to be done to control the usage and distribution of such illicit drugs. Drugs don't only cause death, drugs can be linked to the destruction of families and the loss of jobs nationwide. Many families are destroyed each year because children and spouses are neglected as a result of drugs. As soon as someone becomes addicted, nothing matters but them. As a drug addict, nothing matters to me but getting my fix. I exploit family members and friends in order to get my money to buy drugs. If we can stop the addiction, we can also stop the trafficking of drugs into our country. There will be no supply if there is no demand.
I'm a professor at Slick. I am also a sex addict, at least that's what they say. I don't think I have a problem, but since doctors have accused me of being one, I figured I should do some research. If you don't know what that is, the National Council on Sex Addiction and Compulsivity defined it as engaging in persistent and escalating patterns of sexual behavior acted out despite increasing negative consequences to the self and others. In the late 1970s, Dr. Patrick Carn was the first psychologist and researcher to discover sex addiction, and after a 10-year study, he estimated that 8% of the total population of men in the U.S. are sexually addicted and about 3% of women. They could also be involved into more serious habits such as exhibitionism or exposing oneself in public, voyeurism or watching others, obscene phone calls, child molestation, or even rape. Maybe I am an addict. Out of these people, about 60% of them report they have faced financial difficulties, 58% report having engaged in some form of illegal activity, and 83% of sex addicts also had concurrent addictions such as alcoholism, marijuana or other drug abuses, eating disorders, and compulsive gambling. They even have risks of pregnancy, infections, and STDs, and to top it off, it's very emotionally draining. 90% feel they are acting against their own personal values and beliefs, and approximately 70 to 75% of sex addicts report having had suicidal thoughts related to their sexual behavior patterns. Well, if I am, maybe I'll get treatment, but I have other business to attend to until then.
Computer game addiction is spreading like a cancer. With more and more people, mostly males, becoming addicted to computer games, our society is being impacted on a national level, and more importantly, on the family level. In the late 1970s, Forbes magazine did a study to see what the male-female ratio was for colleges. Their research showed that there were approximately 11 million females enrolled in college and universities nationwide, and approximately 8 million males. This is right about when computer games became popular. Males are playing video games instead of going to college. I know, because that was me. I decided that I wanted to stay home and play games rather than see what I could make of my life. I believed that getting an education wasn't that important. I decided to stay home. And it took me 3 years before I could break that and, actually admit to myself that it was important. And I'm glad that I did. I changed my own life. And I know that those that are still addicted can change theirs also.
As a doctor, I do see many cases of diseases related to smoking. Statistics from Truth About Tobacco state that every year tobacco kills more Americans than AIDS, alcohol, car accidents, murders, suicides, drugs, and fires combined. The statistics of tobacco alone is 443,000 people a year in the United States. There is no safe cigarette. Evidence indicates that light tobacco or low tar cigarettes are just as bad as their normal counterparts. Despite all of this very factual, great information that we see every day, and me being a doctor, it's pretty crazy that I still continue to smoke. I know all of the diseases that come along with it and, all the repercussions that do come along with smoking, but I still smoke because I'm stressed, I've had a hard day at work, and I go home to a house full of kids and I still have to cook dinner, and it's just a long, stressful day. So that's where I turn to tobacco to ease my mind and the stress levels that I continue to have. I would really like to look forward to quitting one day. Will I? There's all those sources out there, all the different types of help that I can seek to see myself with a new journey ahead of me. So I'm just gonna try to seek for that new opportunity and to be able to build myself to be a stronger person.
As an entertainer, drugs are everywhere. Performing in Las Vegas, or whether I'm in New York, there's always drugs. It seems to be part of the scene. It has its own essence, its own placement. Every 14 minutes, a person dies from a drug overdose in the United States. This means more than 35,000 deaths every year. More than 70% of people who abuse prescription drugs have obtained them from friends or even relatives. This is the sad part, or just part of it. It was found that 1 in 3 young people, ages 12 and older, began using prescription drugs for non-medical purposes. This only scratches the surface of an ever-growing issue that not only plagues the United States, but the world over. You see, addiction, it's not just a problem, it's a killer. The elderly are among the most vulnerable to prescription drug abuse because they are prescribed many more medications than their younger counterparts. But as baby boomers age, the way their bodies and brains handle the drug abuse can change and be especially harmful. We can't forget that prescription drug addiction has over 100 years of history and development. The numbers are growing rapidly, and the number of drug-related deaths, no matter how many, are still too many. With all the awareness, social groups, and information available, we as a nation should be able to, with great determination, to end this life-stealing issue and put an end to addiction. And if you go chasing rabbits, you know you're gonna fall.
It's pretty fair to say that I'm a textbook alcoholic. I have this compulsive preoccupation with getting alcohol, and when I get it, I have no control over how much I drink. I've developed a tolerance and a dependency to alcohol. I'm not really that socially functional either. I really started drinking when I was probably 16. Most of the time when people get addicted to alcohol, they start between the ages of 15 and 26. For a long time, drinking was really fun. And then after a while, it started to affect my family. I was getting drunk and I was saying and doing terrible things. Eventually, my wife left me. I stopped going to work, so now I don't have any money. But really, not surprisingly, among adults, family issues such as spousal abuse, financial problems, and a general neglect of your family are really common traits with people with alcohol addiction. Looking back, I think one of the big things that got me to drink was my environment. Youths who are exposed to a lot of alcohol advertisements usually drink alcohol. They're also more likely to increase their drinking habits into their 20s. I know deep down, ultimately it's gonna come down to me changing my behavior. The thing that probably scares me the most, though, is knowing that I'm probably never gonna quit.